Okay, it's starting to stream now. I see. Okay, it's green, the signal. Okay, I can see myself. Just making sure everything's okay. Okay, everything looks good. Yes. Good morning, everyone. This is Spirit Journey, and I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday morning. It's still morning. It's not noontime yet. I'm streaming, live streaming from New York City. The weather, it's heavy overcast. The sky is like a powdery white. Everything looks kind of gray out there. Let's see. Yeah. See a bird up on the top right. Yeah, it looks very quiet today. And it's a perfect day to just sit down and relax. I had a very interesting week. Okay, yes, good morning. I see I have a viewer. Welcome. I'm just starting, and you haven't missed a thing. And you could just, if you like, you could just type hello. So I would like to know whether the sound is good, whether it's clear, because I have been having some problems. My camera, sometimes it goes out of focus. If I move my head sometimes, and it's on autofocus, it sometimes acts, it gets really blur. And I have my mic positioned a little differently. It's up close. So you can let me know that if the broadcast is clear. I would appreciate it. Okay. Well, as you see with my title name, I'm going to talk about a few things. I'm going to talk about the Black community. I'm going to talk about homosexuality. And what else I have here? Let me see the whole title name. Sometimes you forget what you write. But I just want to be, yeah, the homosexual movement. So I feel really pressed on my heart to discuss these things. I actually woke up early this morning and I felt that burden on my heart. And so I actually did two videos on my my iPad, and I thought, okay, just get it off your chest and later on upload it. And so I did two of them today. And then I said, I want to do, there was some other things I wanted to discuss. And I said, do a live stream. I mean, a live stream from home. I've been doing those real impromptu ones out in the city, at the park. But when I do my live stream at home, for me, it's more personal. And I really want things to be just right, And again, I really appreciate it if you let me know if the screen, if it gets out of focus. Because sometimes, like I do move around a lot, and sometimes I have to bend down to pick up something, and the camera go off whack, and I forget to look on the monitor to see if it's in focus, So if you see something happening or the video, the audio go kind of off, just type in the chat that what the problem is. Okay. Now the first thing I want to talk about before I forget, and I think, and it'll put everything, I think, the theme of what I want to talk about. I did mention again in the title of this live stream about the Black community and homosexuality. In a nutshell, it's really about truth. And earlier this week, I went to Queens, New York. That's one of the outer boroughs in New York City. and I needed to buy some tea. I try to avoid drinking carbonated, not carbon, drinks that have caffeine in it. So I don't drink coffee. I try to avoid regular tea. So I drink herbal teas. So I said, I know, because my mother doesn't have herbal tea. So a lot of times she runs out of it and she just has the regular tea that has caffeine. And so I said, let me just pick up some for all of us and some honey to sweeten it. And so I found this. Okay. Hope we can see it. Okay, it says peppermint, let me see. It says peppermint tea, right? And so what happened when I, let me see. Let me go like, okay. So when I got it, I see it, in big letters, peppermint tea. And then when I got home, got to my mom's, I boiled some water and I put, the tea bags in there. But the coloring and everything looked funny. So I put like an extra tea bag in it. Think, okay, this would really make it, I want some real mint tea, And I drank some. It tasted really bitter. It tastes like regular tea. So I went to look at the ingredients. Okay. Look at this. Hope I can get it right. Oh, hope I get it. No. I know I get it. Wait. I'm trying to get it so you could see it. Okay, the light. Wait, I get it. Okay, wait. Okay, could you see it now? Okay, where it says ingredient. What does it say? I see it now. What does it say? Ingredients, green tea. Oops. Okay, got out of focus now. Okay. Boy, see, everything's in reverse when I move it. Okay, so could you see it? It says green tea, and then the second ingredient, peppermint. Okay? Even though this thing, the big box, says peppermint tea. So you're probably asking, why are you showing that? What does that have to do with the black community and homosexuality community? Well, it's about what is truth. So again, I don't know who this company is. It's a product from China. I got it in the Asian store, a South Asian store. And I believe the packaging said that it was peppermint tea. And I gave them my faith to believe that that's what they were selling. But in actuality, they're not selling peppermint tea. They know people love peppermint tea, especially people who need to avoid caffeine. I get like anxiety attacks sometimes. And so for that reason alone, I used to be a tea drinker. But when I started to develop anxiety and panic attacks about 6 years ago, I try to cut all caffeine of any kind. And so what could happen? Let's say someone was allergic. Let's say someone is allergic to caffeine. Or even green tea. Let's just say something they have a sensitivity to it. Yes, hello, watcher. Welcome. And let's say they take it, they get something happens in their body, and they get sick and die from that. But see, you relied on someone's truth, alleged truth, that it was something, the packaging said it was one thing, and then you find out that it's not. Okay, and I see that's what's happening in this country, the United States of America. For one thing, I love my country. God bless America. Or those of you who don't like the word God, the Creator, bless America. I'm very pro-American. And I want the best for all races, all people in this country. So if you're a citizen or legal resident, I want your peace and safety and the pursuit of happiness. I want it for all people. But we have to be honest with each other. And part of honesty is what you call yourself. And I'm finding that, at least where I live in New York City, people are, their sense of truth is now becoming very gray. And that they're sidestepping, they're straddling the fence. And so you start to wonder what truth is. What is, someone's talking to you. Someone says, hey, my name is so-and-so, and you find that's not their name. Or they say, I'm from a particular background, and they're not. So why? Why do people say things that's not true? I find that in this social media, that people are creating different identities for themselves according to whatever motives they have. And in this case, buying peppermint tea, and it's not. So that's the first thing. And everything is going to tie in with this upstream that I'm doing. So, you know, I got this tea from near my mom's neighborhood, and it was very nostalgic. My mother is getting, you know, we're all getting older. My mother is 89 years old. She can walk by herself. I mean, she can walk without a cane. But her memory is not like how it used to be. I mean, all of us, even my memory is not the same, but it's extreme now. You can talk to her, leave the room, and then you could come back in the room, and she may not remember that you even talked to them, you know, to her. It's getting that bad. So I really want to make sure that I go and visit my mom, so that, you know, I want to establish good memories, good, you know, end memories of me and my mother. At some time we were kind of, you know, we weren't on good terms, I have to be honest. And after my father's passing, going on 9 years ago, I said, you know, I want my mom. And I know we had our differences, but I want to create something positive for both of us. And, you know, so when that time comes, that at least when she's gone, I could now remember good things. Good things like, you know, us sitting outside in the stoop, like, yes, you know, what was that, 2 days ago or yesterday, we sat on the front stoop. And I made some tea for us. And I wanted to make the peppermint tea. I bought some fruits, you know, cherries, fresh cherries and grapes, and some other tasty stuff. And we just sat down and we just watched the cars go by and everything. It was very nostalgic because I used to do that as a little girl. And I saw a neighbor of mine, and I wasn't close with this particular neighbor. The person was older than me, but my paths crossed his. It started maybe 4 years ago. I had gone to visit my mom, but my mom forgot I was coming by, and she had gone out. She didn't take her car, and then there was another car in the driveway, and this is during the winter. It was snow out there, and I knew instinctively that there was nothing wrong. I knew there wasn't any danger, but I had this ice cream cake for my mom. It was her birthday, and so I went across the street to this particular neighbor, and luckily they were home, and the one of the children was home, and he was nice enough to allow me to come in. And I saw the mom. I introduced myself again, because it was a number of years since I was away, you know, that they've seen me. And it was very nice. It was a very nice meeting. And then about a month ago, our paths cross again. And I'm not going to go in detail how we cross paths, but I allowed the event. I said to myself, this is for a higher spiritual reason why this crossing of the path again. It was just one of those things, and we met again. And I feel that it's almost like a spiritual connection now between me and this other person. And then again, a month later, which was yesterday, when I was visiting my mom, I see this neighbor again. And the person comes over, and we gave each other a little hug, and they greeted my mom, and we spoke for a while. So my very, very past, you know, being when I was a little girl, that family moved in when I was, let's see, about 8 or 9 years of age. And let's see, yeah, I knew his sisters more. I knew of him, but I knew his sisters more, you know. So, but I know this person went through a lot of stuff, you know, and so I see him. It's a black family, and they had their drama. But when I see him now, I'm looking at him through different eyes, not a critical eye or judgmental eye, but a heart of compassion. And I think because of my father's passing, that I'm more sensitive now to the black male and his plight in this country. I have compassion now. I didn't have compassion as a little girl. I had a lot of fear as a little girl, but now I'm a woman, and I understand through different eyes, an eye of love and compassion for this person. Sorry. I care for this person, and I think it's very important that I share a story that he told me and my mother, and it's all going to tie in everything. I know I get a little long-winded sometimes, but everything really is for a purpose, what I say. So he was telling me that when our family moved in, when his family moved in, our family came as a group and introduce ourselves to them. I personally don't remember that, but he says, yeah, your parent, both your parents and the siblings, you all came and you greeted them, and he said he never forgot that. But he shared also with me, he said, we have this such and such neighbor, and just before the parents really decided to move in, they were looking at the house that they eventually did move into at a distance. They were parked a block away and looking at the house and getting the feel of the neighborhood. And they were telling me that the mother looks, I don't know why she perceived it, but she said, that house next door is going to be trouble for us. And lo and behold, I didn't know those people in that other house, but lo and behold, a month after they moved into that house, now these are honest people. They work hard. The mother and father worked. They had 5 siblings, 2 girls and 3 boys, I think. Yeah, 2 girls and 3 boys. And he's telling me this. I never heard of this story. But he said a month after the family moved in, the neighbors in the house directly next to them it was a two-family house, and it was the tenant who rented the apartment, the section of the house upstairs, and the owner lived downstairs. And this, for whatever reason, and I would like to know more details about the story, but he told me that the mother accused the son of the people that just moved in, not the guy that's telling me this story, but his older brother, and said that this son raped his daughter, and that it was the person who's telling me this story. He was the baby of the family, and he was very inquisitive as a child, he said, and he liked to tag along with his brother. The brother wasn't really aware of him. The little boy was like following him and wanted to know where his big brother's going or whatever, and so he knew where his brother was. And there was some type of case that happened, and the boy who knew where his brother was gave his testimony, said, no, I was watching my brother, and his testimony saved his older brothers, him going to jail. And then it turned out that family, it was a mother-daughter, and it was a scam that the mother and daughter had to accuse men of rape, and then to prevent them from going into prison, to say that to settle out of court. I was dumbfounded when he told me the story. I knew nothing of this, and again, I was a little child at the time, and I didn't hear about adult matters, and I don't think even my family knew about it. And it's really something, because I have 5 brothers. They could have done that to one of my brothers, but my parents were very strict, and we weren't really allowed outside. I mean, we can go outside, but we went out as a group. So all my brothers were together at once. So maybe that's what protected them from this neighbor across the street. But it turns out that this woman, the mother and daughter, had a past of doing this. It turned out, I guess, in court, that they would do this, and rather than going to jail, they the person being lied on, they would settle out of court. Okay, so I say this ahead of time because I think that's very important news. It's important because I want to prevent another black male being falsely accused, or anybody being falsely accused by a woman or by anyone. Even who knows, even other men could lie on another man. But I say this as a community warning for parents to be very protective over the whereabouts of your sons. I mean, in general, in this country, parents usually let their sons out because, boys don't get pregnant, so they let them go out, whatever, and not really supervise. But this story I'm sharing, and I'm sharing to all groups, not just black people, but any race, any ethnic group, any nationality. You better watch your sons and know their whereabouts, and maybe just keep them home, or go out as a group. So they can't just single a guy out and then spin it on him and say, oh, he raped me or something. Don't have boys in the house without both parents there. Don't, if it's a mix, mix of male female, no, don't have them go over. 2 males, 2 females, that's fine. But even today, maybe that's not even fine now. Who knows? You really have people have motives, and people do things, and it's really something, because the guy, I mean the mother, just said, she said, I don't know, but something's going to happen. There's something with that house next door. I'm just getting bad vibes, but I love this house, blah blah blah. Okay, and this is what happened. So this video that I'm doing is, again, truth. It might look one way, but be something else, and it could become deadly. And so I really want to stress this for the viewers of this video. Okay, I'm just looking at my notes now. Just a moment. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, so this video I'm doing, it's really about, I'm afraid for my country. I'm afraid of what's happening to our nation, and how people's integrity is becoming nil. A simple thing as peppermint tea, and it's not peppermint tea. Or you're a good neighbor. Your parents are working, and then a neighbor falsely accuses your son of rape. They find it's a scam so she can collect money. And the owner of that house eventually got rid of them. They had something, it took a while, but they eventually got rid of them. Okay, so when you find out a liar, you exclude them, you get rid of them, you expulge them, because they could be a harm to you and the rest of your community. This is about, not about being antisocial, it's about protection. And if people don't share what they know, then it's saying that I don't love you if I don't tell. So my sharing you these things is coming from my heart about protecting the community I live in. And so some YouTubers think, well, I'm really basing on this one, someone who commented on my video about Native American rant, that I'm a racist, they said. But I'm saying, no, I'm not a racist. I'm someone that's going to expose people who are living amongst us. I don't care what neighborhood I live in, whether white, black, yellow, red, community. If someone is doing something against the place where I live, I'm going to speak out. So I don't care. I don't care about your ethnicity or race, whatever. I care about people being honest with one another, and stop trying to sabotage, and stop trying to hold amenities from people because you don't like certain groups. You have people who look like you, talk like you, act like you, live amongst you, and they could live in their own community that they claim that they have an affinity to, but they're not. And they're in your community, and they're taking different, how you say, they're not allowing you to have the amenities that other communities have. And again, I mentioned about that bench. There's no bench. And it's a nice middle class, predominantly black neighborhood. And some black people I expose are, I'm getting my notes, they're trying to prevent that happiness to other black people and deny them shelter from the elements, from when it rains or snows, like it's about to rain. Now my family lived in this neighborhood for about 50 years. And because of this relatively new person, they don't want a bench for people to sit down. And they say, oh, you know, we don't want undesirables sleeping on it. Well, if you see a so-called undesirable, you call the cops. If they're loitering, call the cops. But they're going to sabotage for everybody else who needs that bench to sit on, you know. So, but again, this video is not about that. But again, it's about how you really feel about other people, the people who you live with, and about truth. And I see her truth is shallow. So then I also met, like when I was coming home from seeing my mom, I needed to walk my dogs. And I bumped into a person in my area. And again, not to mention names or anything like this, they're really nice little families, the mother, daughter, and she lives with her boyfriend. It's a black family. And they're very, let's see, very Afrocentric. They have the hair in dreadlocks, the natural texture hair and the dreadlocks. And they dress really, you know, the jewelry, Afrocentric, the clothes. And the daughter is a new teenager, adorable little girl, and she's to graduate. And I'm really excited for her. I met them 3 years ago this year. And so it's like I see her growing up and everything. Now she's like a little woman. She just turned 13. And very, very precocious, you know, very intelligent, precocious and everything, and well-mannered. And I noticed something that took me by surprise. And I think this is also why I'm doing this live stream. Again, like I guess when I see the little girl, I see part of myself. I kind of know how I was like when I was 13 years old. I had these little friends in school, and it was a multi-ethnic group I was in. There was 2 other American black girls, a light-skinned Hispanic girl from Colombia, and then a girl from Greece. Well, she's born here in the U.S., but her family's from Greece. And we got along. We had a ball. When I think about them, excuse me. When I think about them, I think about the fun we had. I mean, I didn't really know about racism and stuff like that as I know it now. And I was very optimistic. And I didn't know color. I just wanted to have fun. You know, I have all these brothers, and here I have an opportunity to talk to other girls and act silly and do girly things, you know. So that's what I really liked about it. So when I see this little girl, I see a little me. But I noticed something. She had a little pin. Again, I don't know what was the significance of the pin. But you know, when you reach 13 years of age, you know, you maybe start to like boys or something like that, you know. And because the parents, like the woman, I'm not sure if they're married, but she's at least living with the guy, and he also sports dreadlocks. He seems really nice. I only saw him a few times. Very mellow guy, really nice. He seems like a really nice guy. And so it's a very black-centric home. She has black visitors, and they discuss spirituality stuff. So when I saw the girl with this particular pin, I was a little surprised. The girl had a little pin. It was a picture of a boy, but he was not a black person, and he wasn't a white person either. And I was surprised. Again, the little girl, I don't know who the guy was, whether it's a picture of a boyfriend or a performer or something. It was an Asian guy, looked Chinese or Japanese or Korean type, and it was a sweet face. The boy had a little sweet face, but I was surprised, and I was wondering why. Again, she could have any pin she wanted. She liked the guy, she liked the guy. But I was surprised that oh, okay, I see I'm sorry, I got distracted there. Yes, I could, the presidential TV, yes, I could read you, yes, good afternoon, no, yes, good afternoon. Yes, I sometimes I try to keep my eyes on the camera, because when I move my head too much, the camera can get blurred, you know, so I'm trying not to move too much. But yes, all is good. But what I was saying, that I was concerned that I didn't say anything about the pin, but it just had me thinking, and about that you can have black parents who want to educate their children to wear their hair natural, wear the dreadlocks, do the spirituality stuff, go to those poet places. But sometimes what could happen in all that Afrocentricness, your child might be oriented to still not be attracted to their own kind. And I know, yeah, hi, yes, hello. Yes, you're from India. Well, welcome. Welcome, India. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate people letting me know that you could hear me, that all is well, and international viewers, all are welcome. So, but my saying what I'm saying is not a put down on anybody because where they're from. But this is really talking about what's happening, what trends that are happening within the Black American community. And that it seems like a lot of people, young boys and young girls, we're not attracted to each other. And so when I saw the pin, and knowing I don't know this family deeply. We just have casual conversations when I'm walking my dogs, and that's how I met them, when I was walking my dogs. And she was walking a dog for a friend. And we had a really nice conversation. So when we see each other, we have conversation. But I see the little girl, and I see myself in her. And I used to be very, even though it's going to sound contradictory, but I want to be honest with my viewers. I was very European American centric. That if it was white, that it was considered good. And I explained that in a video that I did earlier, of how I became like that. That I was a self-hater. I hated myself. I hated every aspect of myself. And then one day, it was over a course of time, that I started to ask myself questions. I started to say, why are people treating me this way because of a so-called race, or because of the way I speak? Why should I feel bad about myself? And then I started looking outside. I said, what is so wonderful about you? See, we all have our value, and our value is not based on our looks, but on our character. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video about truth, I gave the story about the peppermint tea, and you went by the word, and then in close examination, you find out it wasn't true. So this little girl is having a pin. She doesn't have a pin of her daddy or mother's companion, or even a pin of a mom or grandma, but someone outside of her community, which is in contrast of what the mother wants to teach the child. And I know of other families that, like, they may feel forced for whatever reason to move from their black neighborhood into a predominantly white neighborhood. And what happens is that the kid may become confused and feel that, well, maybe because we left that community, because maybe our parents don't like people of color or other blacks, and so we move into this white neighborhood, and so the kid may be taught indirectly or interpreted as that only white people are good and to be pursued. And this is very detrimental to the black community, because every community has its value, and when people from the black community don't value themselves, they're going to start acting out against one another. And we all heard about the black on black crime, right? You hear you see people shooting each other, you see gangs killing each other. And I feel this is due to us hating ourselves and not respecting one another consequently. And so if you don't like yourself, you don't like the reflection in the mirror, and you're not going to like anyone that looks like you. And so that's what I see what's happening. That's what I felt. And also in my neighborhood, I'm seeing a lot of the young black boys that you very rarely see them with people from their own community, girls from their own communities, or I should say race. And the little black girls are becoming angry. So I'm concerned about that, because it's pulling us apart, and it's a lot of distractions happening now in our community. Okay, I want to read what President on TV says. What do you think about that more and more countries are electing leaders who preaches hate among communities? Very interesting. And are you saying that as a sarcasm? Is your question sincere? And do you think that I am preaching hate? Because if you saw the beginning of my video, this upstream is not about hate. It's about self-love. See, it's a difference. When you're being taught in your community that you're not pretty, or only if you have, like look at the TV announcers, the people on the news. You're seeing all these black women now having hair weaves, things that it looks fake. Rather than using their natural hair, they're getting hair weaves, hair extensions, and making themselves appear like Europeans or European Americans. And so little girls will see this. Okay, I am talking about people like, I guess you mean like Putin and Trump. Well, I don't know much about Putin. Of course, I've heard of the president of Russia, Putin, and of course, my president, President Trump. I could talk about them all. I mean, I can talk about Trump. You are great. Please don't take it on you. Oh, okay. Okay, I just want to make sure where you're coming from. Yeah, but you know, all questions are valid questions. But I just wanted to make sure, you know, because I do get what they call trolls, and they may say something to cause discord. But again, if it's a sincere question, I like to discuss that too, because you are a viewer, and I respect my viewers, and I respect people's comments if it's a legit question. I don't think, well, my opinion about Trump, he is different. He is a very different president, and his demeanor is what it is. Trump, see, I respect Trump because he's, What you see is what you get. And that's an expression here that means, okay, you get what you get. He is exactly what you see. He doesn't pretend. If he's upset, you'll know it. And when he's happy, you'll know it too. And he doesn't like to be pushed around. So even though he may come across very brash at times, but I think he's honest. And I think he's a man of his word. And I think that if Clinton would have won, I think we would be in worse shape. I don't think he could use more wisdom about how he words certain things. I think some things he said that was not appropriate. It was inappropriate. A little for politics, I thought he needed to word things in another way. But I think he is a leader, and I support my president. I support that which is truthful, which is honest. I believe in having a strong country, to secure our borders, and to be selective who comes into your country. Just like every other nation has a right to defend itself and to preserve its cultural identity. I stress that, so I don't care whether, what color or race or nationality you belong to a nation. That nation has a right to protect its citizens, its legal residences, and that those people who come in as guests, whether they're on vacation, to follow the rules of the land, and to respect the people that live there. That's what I'm about. But I feel that the trend in the country I'm living in is changing, and it's detrimental to blacks here and also for white America. And these are some of the things I wanted to also talk about. Let me see here. I have these notes all over the place. Let me see here. See, I have my cell phone keeps going off, and so I have to keep on changing, opening it up because it keeps closing on itself. Let me see here. Yeah, I mentioned also about what I mentioned about truth and everything. I mentioned in an earlier video to really stress about being genuine about your behavior, your interaction with other people. And I mentioned in the past video about a doctor. I went to Chinatown here in New York City. I found out about her on the internet, and I really thought, well, I've been to Chinatown before, and I always had a positive experience there, and I actually like international things. I like things from Asia. I was always inquisitive about people who were different than me, because when I was a little girl, I lived in a very closed-in environment, and so I was always very eager to know what's outside of my immediate environment. So I never had a problem being around people who spoke different languages than me. Most people I associated with were people who were not U.S. citizens, or their parents were from another country. That was always me. But it's just recently the social climate is changing, and ultimately it is starting to color the way that I think and view things. I was very naive about the things that were going on around me, and I was thinking that everything was good and all these variety and stuff is good. But what I didn't know, that I was being pushed out. At least I feel sometimes that I'm being pushed out of my own country, Oh, I want to read your other note here. It says, I am a father of 2 daughters, but I always remain concerned that when they will grow up, they may have a boyfriend. This thought scare me that they may get in trouble like wrong boys. Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate you sharing that with me. I think that's a concern that many fathers have for their daughters, and like here in the United States. But again, things in the United States are a little different than in India, and things are more conservative in India when it comes to, you know, their daughters. Only thing I would say with your daughters, that fear has its good points, but I find that if you use fear to control your daughters, you're gonna have trouble. And why I say that is, I think back on my life, that my parents used fear also. Now, I did live a conservative life. I wasn't out there messing around with the boys, but when you have fear, sometimes it can lead to rebellion. When you see, because sometimes fear, there's the opposite side of fear, and if you just focus on fear, it could flip over and it causes rebellion. And so you see a lot of girls in the United States, they're rebellion against the double standards that maybe some girls have, that boys have over girls in the United States. Boys can go out, but girls have to stay at home. They have to do all the cooking and cleaning, and the guys could just do their, do whatever. They don't have to cook or clean. And this could make some girls resentful, and they want to leave home, and they want to explore the world like their brothers or male friends from school, and they might start to experiment, and this could be dangerous, because you hear what's happening in Great Britain, the UK, that they have what's called grooming. You have people from other countries, and they are targeting in specific the white girls in Britain, and they're also targeting the Sikh women's, and what was other people, and I think they said Indian, I forget, there were the 3 groups, but yeah, they are, the Sikh, they said, I think they said Hindu, Sikh, and the British women for the sex trade. So they are kidnapping the girls, raping them, and then selling them out. So I understand your fear. Yeah, you are right. These double standards are same across the world. Yeah. So the only thing I can say is, love your daughters, educate your daughters, because the society is changing so rapidly. Because now a woman can't rely that she's going to get married. Not every girl gets married, because there's no guy for every girl, right? But every girl, or I should say woman, needs to be an educated woman so that she could have a place to stay and be safe. That's essential, because you have war, men die. So what is the woman going to do? So when you have an educated woman, she can go anywhere in the world and start all over with her family, with her children, if she has children, or if she has to take care of her mother or her parents. You have to educate both boys and girls. But I feel especially the girl, because the nature of this world, sometimes you have war, and it's usually they send the males to war, and he may not come back alive, or he might come back injured, and he can't supply for his family. So you have to supply that flexibility. You have to. And I hear like in India that the girls are prevented from learning how to swim. Teach women how to swim. Teach them. The more empowered she is, the more she could provide for her children. And remember, if your guy is the presidential TV, if you are a man, you were a boy once, and you had parents, and you want your let's say if you didn't have a father, then it's your mother. Wouldn't you want your mother to be safe and be able to provide for you? So open up doors for your daughters, and daughters also are faithful to their parents. In general, you treat the daughter right, that daughter takes care of the parents when they get old, right? In general, they're loyal. You treat a daughter right, the daughters would take care of their parents when they get old. So I'm really strong about that. Yeah. I'm just getting my other notes here. Oh, I'm sorry, I almost lost track. Well, that doctor, I went to Chinatown, so I almost forgot what I was talking about. I had gone to Chinatown and used this doctor. It was a female doctor from China, and this I don't really need to get in detail. I did discuss this in a prior video. Stop it, Lily. My little dog is scratching on something. Okay. Yeah, I went to the doctors for a second opinion on something and brought the medical notes from the prior doctor. And in short, I had to pay up front. And when I got inside and we discussed certain things, and she did a maneuver on me, and then when I was to leave, she said that I want you to set up another appointment and bring another report that you didn't have. So I said, okay, how much will this cost? Oh, well, ask so-and-so. And then that person was there, that other person I was to talk to, and then the doctor and her started speaking in their native tongue. Now, both of them speak English extremely well. So what happened there? Well, I speculate that they were discussing what I was to pay, but they didn't want to tell me. I speculate that there's a fee for people from her own community and people from outside the community. And then we get to the front desk, and I asked, well, how much is the second visit if I come back? Oh, it's going to be the same price that you're paying now. And then she says, well, you don't have health insurance. I said, yes, I know that. I had to pay you in cash. And then she says, oh, you have to pay an additional $100. Hello. I said, are you serious? Oh, yeah, well, she did something when she was in the room with you. I said, she never told me about any extra payment, and you got to be out of your mind. So I feel that, again, like the peppermint tea, that it says one thing, but then there's something else behind. And that I speculate that they didn't want me to know what they were saying, and that's why they changed their language, and that the doctor wanted to charge me an extra amount of money for something, and it was something that I didn't want her to do, but she did it anyway. And there's no pricing. She didn't say, okay, if I do this, it's going to cost extra. See, it's about being forward, being honest when you're with your dealings. And I started feeling that it was the first time I ever felt this way before. And I was always open about doing business in Chinatown. I like the variety in Chinatown. I have fun there. I never felt anything negative about these people, but it was just something that clicked in my head. This was about a week or so ago. And when she did that, and when they tried to squeeze out an extra $100, and then wanted me to pay another amount when I come back with the paperwork, I said, no, this is not being honest. And there's no pricing in their office. Nothing. And it's just, I said, this is not how you do business. I've gone to doctors before, and this is just awful. So again, this is all coming together about, see, when someone doesn't like you because maybe I'm jumping the gun and assuming that it was because I'm not from their background, but when you have the opportunity to do business with someone and they respect you, you should show respect back and be honest about your pricing. People who don't want to show their pricing, there's a reason. And it might be because you have different pricing. One for your own and one for other. And I'm against dealings like that. I will not go back to her. And then they wanted me to come back again. They said, oh, well, you can make an appointment now to set up, for X, Y, and Z. I said, well, I don't have my calendar with me. Oh, that's okay, she says. You could, I'll just put down this date tentatively, and if it's not good for you, just call me back. Then I said, I don't feel comfortable with that. And I do not have the paperwork that she wants me, that she wants me to bring. And I have to go to my old doctor for that, and I don't know when I'll be able to go there. Then she said, oh, well, yeah, you can still come, just make the appointment now. I said, then I just go like this, no. Because she was not backing off. I said, no. When I go to my other doctor, and when I get it, and when I get the information, then I'll know what when I could come, and then that's when I'll call you. And then I walked out. But they see that they try to squeeze out and make it commit, because something told me, just like something told that woman, my neighbor, about the other neighbor who a month after moving in accused her son of rape. Something in me clicked that if I make an appointment with her and if I back out of it, oh, it's another hidden fee. Something told me that. So I just said at one point, no. And I said, I call you when I'm able. I'm not going to call back. Not at all. Yes, I go by the name Spiritjourney. Yeah, the presidential TV. That's what people know me as. And I'm reading your post where it says, women, I really respect your words. You are a very learned woman. I thank you for that. But yeah, I have to be. See, I see now that things are happening in my country, and for all of us, not just me. So I'm still toggling. I have my notes here. Yeah. I wrote here. I said, truth is what is legalized. See, people are learning that to say certain things, that you could call yourself something that you're not, because the law says that you could. And again, this video is not about per se bashing people who believe that they're a particular gender, that they want to be another gender. I don't believe in doing physical violence of any kind against any people. I'm not about that. And this video is not about promoting hatred to kill anybody or vandalizing their property. Nope, I'm not about that. But I believe in truth. Just like when I bought this peppermint. It's not peppermint. It says peppermint, but it's not. And as I showed you earlier, that what it says. See, it's green tea. If you can see that. See that? It says green tea. It's not peppermint. But some people believe it's okay to say that you're something that you're not. So it's a social thing that's happening now. So people are being taught it's okay to say that that they're boys when their private parts say something else. Or they're girl, they say that they're a girl, but their private parts say something else. They think if you just put on a dress or a suit or something, that they're a different gender. And they expect the same rights as someone who was born a particular gender. And that they expect you to respect their choice. Now, I respect people's choice. People have the right to live a life that they want to live, you know. But be honest about it. I have no problem with someone saying, you know, I like to wear this or wear that. But it's a point where, like that peppermint tea, that you're not being truthful. And when I was in the military, when you're in the military, I was in the Navy, and a guy was telling me about his experience. He was a young guy, and he thought it was a girl. See, the alleged girl knows what they are, but the person that he's doing, business with did not know. And it's the act of not knowing that I'm emphasizing here. And so when he wanted to do, have sex with the person, it wasn't a vagina, and he saw it was a penis, and the guy got angry, was going to beat him up. See, what the guy pretending to be a girl should have said was, I'm a transgender. Be honest. There are men who like other men. But let them know. Just like the peppermint tea. It's nothing wrong with green tea if you like green tea. Let people know what you're about when you're doing business with them, especially in the bedroom. If the other person knew that he had other anatomy, they have a right to go for it. But he didn't. And it could have caused the guy serious, the person pretending to get beat up. So I now want to kind of guide this conversation to other things that I wanted to talk about. Let's see. Are people trying to judge themselves by others' eye? Okay. Yes, are people trying to judge themselves? That's interesting. I'm not really sure. And you also say, sometimes I feel that society, media like Facebook and Twitter are making people sick, as with every post they get so much concern if they are going to get any likes or comments. What do you think? Let's say I feel, let me read that again. That they make people sick. I'm not really sure what you mean. You mean like that you put up a video something and you're more afraid of someone not getting people to give likes or something? I'm not really sure what you mean. If they're going to get any likes. I know. Well, what I could say about my own channel is that I started this channel a couple of years ago. And again, you can go on my channel and read the Abouts page. And I give a detail why I started Spiritjourney channel. And I started it because I was starting to change. Oh, like posting their pictures. See, I don't have Twitter. Yeah, I don't have Twitter and I don't have Instagram. But, oh, you mean, okay, so they put those pictures up and then the people aren't commenting or putting likes and things like that. I'm not hung up about that. This is a new, all those stuff is a new speed. I am talking speed, I don't know what word. Oh, on Instagram. Yeah, I don't have Instagram, but I do this video. It's really like a diary. This channel, it's really it's exploring the changes that occur to me about what is reality and where we heading. Where am I heading spiritually, emotionally? That the world that I was brought up into as a little girl is now, I'm seeing it differently as an adult. That what I thought was important, and finding out that there may be other worlds beside this world, and that there's an unseen world, and that's what I'm starting to believe. And if there's an unseen world, then this physical world that I'm in is maybe just a little speck. And so that realization is having me really analyze what is reality. So I wanted to also talk about like I started to mention about the guy in the military who was with a man dressed as a woman. And I noticed that and again, this is not about bashing. I don't want any violence on anybody. What your business, who you like, who you sleep with, for adults, is their business. But I'm concerned as a member of the Black community and as an American, I see trends happening. I see changes happening. And again, it's about what is truth and lies. I see that there is a growing homosexual movement or gay movement that's being forced upon the Black community that I live in. Now, if someone openly likes that, they made a choice. I don't have any problem about that. But what I perceive is that it's something that's being imposed upon the Black community. American Blacks, especially West Indian Blacks in general, are very conservative, at least publicly are very conservative in the way they deal with things. And I see that there was never an issue of homosexuality growing up. I didn't know that. As I mentioned before in earlier videos, I did not know that Black people could be homosexual. I thought homosexuality was something that was strictly a white phenomenon. That's what I thought. But I see it more and more. That the culture is being influenced. It's in our churches. It's in the movies. And I'm wondering, why is this happening? And I think this is happening because of social engineering. What in my opinion, that you have a change in the social structure that is happening. And the homosexual movement, I feel, is a ploy, a weapon, like you have guns. Well, I think, in my opinion, that at times this particular movement that's being imposed upon the Black community is being used to prevent the Black community from growing. If everybody becomes homosexual, there's not going to be a lot of people. So it's a means of birth control, of keeping back the black community so it doesn't grow. And I think that is genocide. It's a form of genocide. Okay, this is from the third iris. Let me see. No, you are not bashing anyone, but your higher self is spreading truth, and the truth hurts, but the truth also has to be realized. The warlocks and witches in power are pushing their agendas. Yes. Then you'll say and conditioning on us so much has changed. For, 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers, and the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. It's not about bashing, but it's about motive. And I feel that the movement against, the movement of the homosexual, gay, LGBT movement that's being put upon us is by design. It's not by choice. You have the media, the TV shows, and it's glamorizing black men in particular to act like a woman. And if the person isn't having a gay-like persona, they're not with a black woman. So this again is why a lot of black girls are angry. When I was a little girl, I did an earlier video that I'm going to post, and that I discussed this before, but they have... See, I remember when I was a young black girl in elementary school, and that in particular, the black girls were very angry. But it turns out a lot of these black girls were being raped in their homes, molested by their pastor, and no one is telling them they're beautiful. So they're calling them ugly, and at the same time raping and sexually violating them. And then they took it out on me in school. And again, I don't look exactly like the blacks of my community. My features and my color is a little different than blacks of that day when I was a little girl. Black people in my community were very dark skinned, but yes, you had some lighter ones, and you know right off. You know right off when you're not liked. Even as a little girl, you know, even though you may not understand what racism is or colorism is. I remember something that happened to me, and I'll share this with you. I was at a relative's house, and my relatives had a little friend. I was maybe 8 years old or something, 8, 9 years old. And the other little girl, she was maybe 1 or 2 years younger than me, and we were playing. She was a pretty, pretty little girl. She was a very light-skinned little girl. She was from the Caribbean. I forget what country, but she's let's see. She has naturally straight hair. She's a mixed race. Yeah, her parents are very light-skinned, but they're not white though. They're mixed race. So some people, you know, a mixed race, and a family member, I guess, liked the way she looked. Now, your little girls, your children, we're just playing, you know, and the person there didn't want me to put me. The person made a mean look at me and didn't want me to play anymore because he wanted to play with the little girl, give her a lot of attention. And I said, yeah, she's a pretty, you know, she was a happy little girl, and she smiled, and I liked to be around positive, friendly people. So everyone is attracted to positiveness. But it taught me, I said, wow, why is this person treating me this way? And I felt it was because of colorism. She looked different than me, and I felt her different. Again, back in those days, white people didn't socialize with black people in those days. And the only time you really see white people on TV, not really person to person. The whites lived in their own community, and they did not socialize with blacks. They move away. So this girl wasn't white, but kind of looked like a white person. And this other person made a mean look at me, and it's like he preferred the other person than me. So you put two and two together. See, we're human, and we can perceive things. So just imagine these dark-skinned black girls, and people, society as a whole. Let's see, when you look at a magazine, they show a lighter skinned girl being favored by a man, and it's usually it could be a darker skinned man or any man. You're showing that there's a distinction of what you like, what's considered. You notice how they treat you. How do they treat you, and then how do they treat that other person? And you start to get a correlation between color or hair texture. And again, the media, they never showed dark-skinned black women on television as being beautiful. They even said she's a strong black woman. Who's supposed to be strong but a man? So you're using masculine terms to define a beautiful, graceful black woman, And they're showing that beauty is only in lighter and not darker. You have some black beauties. You do. I've seen some beautiful dark-skinned black women. When you go outside of the U.S., you start to see the variety of all different types of women. The United States puts hang-ups on people's color. I had an opportunity to visit certain islands in the Caribbean, and I used to live in the Caribbean briefly as an adult. And I saw women, Caribbean women in their natural settings, and some of them were very beautiful. When you go out, I would encourage people to go outside of their domain, go outside of the U.S. and just start exploring how other women, outside of those, maybe the countryside, and you see beautiful people, beautiful colors, and it will open up understanding that you too are beautiful. You don't have to be look like a white person to be beautiful. You can have natural hair. You can have dark complexion. Beauty has to do with what's inside of you. It has nothing to do with color. But if you're raised to believe that beauty is a color, and if you're not that color, then by default you'll call yourself ugly. And that's what's happening. So here you have these young girls. When I was growing up in school, in elementary school, and then forget about junior high school. They were really getting violent in junior high school, and I realized it, that the guys didn't like them. The guys weren't paying attention. The black guys were not paying attention to their black counterpart, people from their own countries. They liked the lighter skinned girls, and it hurt their feelings. And I'm sure it still hurts their feelings. So just imagine if someone didn't like you for a reason that you can't really change, how are you going to walk around? And so I started to see them fighting. They started to fight some of these young light-skinned girls, or the Hispanic girls, or the people from India. I saw fights, and I realized now. But I'm older now, and now I understand, and I forgive them, because they did not, to put that hang up on a child, on a woman. Women don't want to be perceived as being ugly. When you tell a woman that she's ugly and treat her like an ugly person, it's devastating. It's just as bad as a woman to tell a man, you're not a man, you don't know how to satisfy me sexually. It's that harsh. It's horrible. And so the black community is hurting, in my opinion. And let me see this. OMG, you were only 8. This would have made you very sad. Yes, it may be sad, because I had cared for the person who did that to me. I thought we were close, and the person did that. We all could play together, So why is it now that I'm not good enough to play with them? And I think the black community is being seduced to think that beauty has to be from Latin America. So what is Latin America? It's usually a light-skinned black or a light-skinned mestizo. A mestizo is someone of European and Native American mix. So that's what's considered the standard of beauty. But I realize that they set that up because they want you to believe. See, Latin America is over. If you use the American standard of racial categories, that Latin America will be predominantly black. And so if that old system, American system of racial category, and the majority of the people are black in these places, then you have a potential riot. So what do? So you start to teach the people to say, we'll consider you an honorary white person if maybe your grandparent, if at least one grandparent was white. So everybody is aspiring to improve their social status, to be considered white, or to have a light complexion. And they think by having a lighter complexion that this will improve their social position and job opportunities. But what it really did was to strengthen whiteism in an overwhelmingly former slave colony. So rather than using their numbers to fight off their oppressor, they wanted to become identified as their former oppressor. So it's a great weapon. Say, hey, we don't have to have the Ku Klux Klan down here in Latin America. We'll just have them destroy themselves and their cultural identity. So we'll make them aspire to look like us, act like us, but we're still going to control the scenes. You still have a lot of poverty in Latin America. And what is being done to these poor people, I feel badly for them, and for many of them to teach their daughters to marry white or light, and to shun the darker skinned people of their community. It's awful. So you're actually oppressing yourself. And you're relying on somebody, your former oppressor, to like you. But I come to a point in my life now that I don't want to try to make people like me. I don't aspire to look like them, and that I feel very much into teaching people to embrace yourself. Beauty is within. Beauty is not a color. And when you realize that, that's true liberation. So you don't have to go around looking like, oh, I can't associate with somebody because they their skin is a different color than mine, and you actually are strengthening racism within that colored community. So you're still a slave, and the whites don't have to say one thing. You do it amongst yourselves. You cause division through colorism, and teaching your family who to marry, who to associate with, and you're putting a nail in your own grave, I mean, in your own coffin. But again, getting back to, I'm sorry, about the gay movement, that I think is becoming more prevalent in the black community, that it's something that's growing. And this movement, this gay movement, I remember, I did want to show you something. I have here something on my screen, and that this is of a woman. Her name is Vistaviano. Let me show you here. I want to share you with my screen. Okay, now you see here this lady up front. Remember a couple of years ago, about 4 years ago, this woman, she is of mixed ancestry. She has a black father, and her mother is Mexican. And again, I'm not going to go in details about her. You could click on various videos on YouTube about her. But she goes by the name of Vistaviano, as you see here. And why I wanted to discuss her in this, well, not necessarily about the gay movement, okay, but about how women of black ancestry or mixed race ancestry, that we're being objectified, and that we are stressing to be used by others, to become sex toys by white men. And so I want to put a light on that, and that you don't have to do this. Now this woman, as I mentioned, this woman was, she comes from a very large family. She's from California, and she used her body as a tool. She has a very sordid past. I mean, you don't really know what's true about her. Again, about truth, like the peppermint tea, but it's not peppermint tea. Now, she has an arrest record of shoplifting, multiple arrests for shoplifting, and what was the other thing she did? She had taken recordings of her boss, and then gives those tapes that had very sensitive audio on it, and it was a rant. Now she knew who this guy was. She knew that he didn't like black people. Now this is a black girl / mixed race. She has brown skin, African hair, but she straightens her hair, but it's African texture hair. But yet she doesn't have enough self-esteem to go away from him. But she is a toy for this guy. And there was a particular, let me stroll up. There was a particular event that happened with this woman. Let me show the other pictures. See the other pictures of her? Now what happened here, like the guy that she's with, his name is Donald Sterling. He was the owner of, I think it's called the Clippers, some basketball team. And she had gotten him fired from his position when the tapes that she gave to her friends, and that friend gave it to social media, and it got wind, and the things that he said was extremely inflammatory. Again, I'm not going to go in detail about that, but he gave an anti-black rant. And there was a particular part in his rant, he says to the girl, now this girl has a black father, and she looks like a black girl, an exotic black girl, but she has a Spanish mother, and she's raised in a Spanish-speaking community, so she can speak Spanish, but she's a black girl, half black. And the guy says to her, "You're supposed to be a white girl. You're supposed to be the pretty Latina girl. If you talk to that guy, that black guy, I'm gonna dump you. You're not supposed to do that." And this was on tape. So, why I share this story is that you have a lot of black Hispanic women, and some of them feel that they have to compromise and be like sex toys for men. That they're saying, we don't want you to, you could be pretty for us. We want you to act accordingly. We want you to be a pretty Latina or pretty white girl. If you associate with black people, you're through. And that's what happened to her. And then her friend released the audio, and he lost his job. Not only that, see in the video, the one in the center now, with when it says, "When nothing goes wrong, Vistaviano order to return $2.6 million in gifts to Donald Sterling's ex-wife." See, what happened there was, Vistaviano, the mixed race woman, played the bedwench, the typical bedwench of the past, of the mixed race / black woman who feels that they could do these things and doesn't realize the consequences. So she thought she was being smart, but she got the legal wife upset. She was getting the black girl, the black Hispanic girl, was getting gifts from her so-called boss. And the white, it's not the first time he did this. There was another court hearing from another woman that Mr. Sterling had done, to another woman, and the wife found out about it and had, did some something in court to get back the money. So Vistaviano was sued by the wife, the legal wife, okay? The legal wife. And she lost everything. So here Vistaviano, the bedwench / assistant / who knows, everything about this woman, there's always questions about what truth is to her. She has many different aliases. So again, like my peppermint tea not being peppermint, she calls herself by many names. Be careful when you meet people who say that their name is something, they always got a different name. This is a warning about possible intent of them creating their truth upon you, but that truth may not mix well with you when you find out. Okay, and so she lost everything. So she thought she was slick, But see, when you have a smart, legal wife who knows her rights, she got back everything, and it was returned back to her. So stop playing, stop teaching your children, whether you're black or mixed race, stop teaching them how to be a bed wench and have respect for yourself. So she didn't mind doing whatever what she was doing to get over $2.6 million in gifts from her so-called boss. And to do that, what she did to the boss, I think was wrong. You know what he's about. So why even deal with him? Because he has money. And that's what it's about. And that's what I'm against. That you're teaching your daughters to be shallow and to have sex or to be friendly to people that can give you things rather than doing honest work to get an honest pay. Because if you play the game wrong, you're going to lose everything and your reputation. What happened there? This person didn't value themselves. This person has to create all these aliases and do things to get money off of people. Okay, so this again is about truth. What is truth? You have people who are going to present their truth to you. And their truth might be against your truth. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, okay, with this, I know I'm kind of going a little bit all over the place, but again, you have what's called the gay movement. Remember this person, Gloria Steinem? Now, the gay movement is not just going and affecting the black community. It started in the white community. And in this case, the white and Jewish community. Gloria Steinem, the woman that you see on top, she was what they call a feminist. But not only was she a feminist, she was also a lesbian. And why I mention about her? Because I mention about her that, see, it's a trend going on. And it's a pushing of the homosexual agenda. Again, you can be what you want to be. Love who you want to love. But when there is a possible agenda, that's what I'm talking about, an agenda that's pushing into mainstream community. So what the hierarchy is whites, Jews and whites, and then blacks, and then others. So when it hits the Jews and white community, the next up is the black community doing the same thing. So Gloria Steinem was for women's rights. She was a women's activist, but she also was a lesbian. And it's a movement now in pushing this LGBTQ movement to mainstream America. Recently, there was a movie just came out. These are some